But first, just as COVID has gripped the world and caused huge ructions in Europe and countries like the United Kingdom, so too has the renewed activity of people smugglers. Now, ever since becoming Prime Minister and his landslide election win, Britain's Boris Johnson has effused about Australia's skills-based migration system that he's been using as the basis of his own migration reforms. And that's all well and good, but there's another part of our immigration system here that the Brits need to pay even more attention to, and that's our policies to stop illegal migration by boat. Now that summer's come around in Britain and the 22-mile Straits of Dover are calm, hundreds of would-be illegal migrants are crossing the English Channel in dinghies every single day. On Monday, there was a record 430. On Tuesday, another 240. And here's footage of the French Navy standing by while 13 would-be illegal migrants in an overloaded rubber ducky pass from French into British territorial waters, despite Britain this week paying the French £54 million to help stop the illegal people smuggling trade. You'll know that I'm calling these people would-be illegal migrants, not asylum seekers, for the very good reason that they're all from Africa or the Middle East, and they've passed through several perfectly safe countries, including France, before paying people smugglers to dump them on a beach near Dover, where finally they claim asylum. Now, it's worth noting something here that often doesn't get said by other media. Under the rules of the UN Refugee Convention, those fleeing a well-founded fear of persecution are supposed to seek asylum in the first safe country they reach. They're not meant to move through countries, as they once did here, all those people travelling from the Middle East down to Australia, as we remember all too well, looking for a better economic outcome rather than safety. That's what happened in Australia's case, but that's also what's happening now, today, in the UK. And they want to get to Britain, don't they? Not to claim asylum in France, because Britain has more economic opportunity, a more generous welfare system, including the National Health Service, and of course a more forgiving legal system, and plenty of activists to support their fight through the courts. I don't blame them. Who wouldn't prefer life in Britain to a poor and corrupt dictatorship? But I do blame the so-called refugee activists in Britain, as well as here, for trying to torpedo in the courts all efforts to send people back and to stop the deadly people smuggling trade in their aggressive push for a new world order of no borders and a loss of sovereignty for countries like our own. And I certainly blame the French for making these boats Britain's problem rather than busting the people smuggling gangs in France and arresting people who are trying to cross his maritime border. By being slow to deal with this migrant inflow, Boris Johnson is buying himself a world of pain. This is a leader, don't forget, who won the Brexit vote and a thumping re-election because Britons wanted to take back control of their own country. Well, that means anything. It's got to mean taking back control of Britain's borders and stopping these illegal boats. So far this year, 8,500 people are known to have landed illegally. Of course, the northern summer has only just started in Britain. And given that the French are only half-hearted at best in wanting to help, because they want Brexit to fail and, of course, they want these migrants off their hands, Boris Johnson's really going to have to start to take charge here. Now, there's no doubt he's got to consider apprehending people at sea, as we did here in Australia, putting them in to an unsinkable vessel, perhaps the same orange lifeboats we used in Australia, with just enough fuel to get them back to France. The French won't like it, and the refugee activists will say it's illegal, but it's probably the only way to stop the stream of people from becoming a flood. If we can make this work with Indonesia to our north, then surely the French can do what they should to help solve this problem on their coastline at the point of departure. If you care about human life, it's certainly the only way to stop drownings that are inevitable under the current UK policy. That's got to be stopping people smuggling the trade by strong action at sea, not negotiation, as Johnson's talking about. The UN Convention on Refugees has a process for people to seek asylum, a new permanent home in another land. We're one of only 27 or so countries in the world that take refugees from the UNHCR and give them a new life, a permanent home here in Australia. And we spend some of the greatest amounts per capita to settle them here, as we should. But allowing people smugglers to run your immigration policy is a no-win solution. And Boris Johnson, it's an abrogation of his leadership as a leader, Prime Minister, to do nothing about this. For the past 12 months, Johnson has had Tony Abbott advising him on trade. Given how bad this has become, I suspect Abbott might be more useful for them on borders.